Everyone, and welcome back to the channel, and I'm back with another Scooby-Doo tier list. So today we'll be reacting to the Scooby-Doo Show. We finally finished it off, and now it's time to do what we wanted to do. So the movie was yesterday. We had a lot of fun with it. Now it's time, or no, the movie was 2 days ago. It doesn't matter. Now it's time for the Scooby-Doo Show tier list before we move on to next week, to our next series. So we're going to just go through this pretty quickly. Similar to how we did it the second time, not the first time. The first time was a little bit long, so just gonna keep it decently short and just go off gut feeling like how we did. So going right into it, Scooby-Doo Show was my favorite of the Scooby-Doo era so far. The first season got an average of 6.06 out of 10. Second season got 5.81, and then the third season got 5.75. So my favorite past Where Are You? Also went through series 50 to 89 of the entire show. The first season was 16 episodes, second was 8, and then the third was 16 episodes. So overall, some really fun moments and a lot of good old-fashioned Scooby-Doo antics that really made me enjoy them. So starting off with episode 1, starting us off with the 50th episode of the series, High Ray's Hair Razor, released on September 11th, 1976. This one I rated a 6.5 out of 10. And for this episode, I liked the way the gang interacted with them, the kind of construction, kind of spooky vibe of it. It was a nice, fun return to form with Scooby-Doo compared to this new Scooby-Doo movies. And just one that was rather enjoyable, especially since it was a year break between Scooby-Doo, so they kind of went back to where they were. And that's why I rated a 6.5 out of 10. For me, I think this is going to be a C. It'll probably end up being about middle C, but it was a nice kind of spooky style episode that really had some fun moments in it, but not really my favorite episode, but still pretty interesting, and it had some cool characters in it. Next is Fiesta Host is an Aztec Ghost, released on September 18th, 1976. Series episode 51. I rated this one a 7 out of 10. So this one was a lot more natural, I feel like. It was a Scooby-Doo episode. It had a bit more of a creepy vibe. Also, the first time they've really gone to a foreign country in a while were Mexico. Foreign to us, of course, or for me, I guess. But this one was also really fun, and I liked how there was a couple more suspects than usual, and that we had 2 villains in this episode. And this is just one of those ones where it's nice to go somewhere else, because this is the first ever, like what the trivia says, this first ever known episode where the gang solves a mystery in another country besides the United States. So that keeps it nice and fun on its toes. And also we got some Scooby snacks eaten and some property damage. So just overall, just a really fun return to form for Scooby-Doo, which is why for me, this one's going to be a B. Then as we move on to the gruesome Came of the Gator Ghoul, released on September 25th, 1976. And one of my favorite kind of episodes of because of Scooby-Doo. Yeah, I rated it a 5 out of 10, but Scooby-Doo, his first appearance, I enjoyed him and his style with the crew. The kind of Ma and Pa scale was a bit of a weird one, but I liked the Gator Ghoul. I thought he was a pretty cool villain. But this one's a 5 out of 10 for me. I think I'm going to give this one a D. No, I'm going to give this one a low C, actually. Even though it's a 5 out of 10, I feel like just it has more. I like Scooby-Doo a lot. That's why I'm going to give it to him. It's probably going to be Scooby-Doo's weakest episode, so it might start going down. But this one was just a bit fun and had some cool moments in it. Then as we move forward, we have What a Shocking Ghost, the first appearance of a Scooby-Doo villain that will appear later in in the live-action movie Monsters Unleashed. This one was released on October 2nd, 1976. And some fun trivia for the 10,000 volt ghost was he was just a cool villain. I gave this one a 6 out of 10. And this was one of the first times that Shaggy and Scooby are not bait for Fred's trap. Velma and Daphne are the bait, which is pretty cool. Dynamic villain, definitely a lot better, animated with the live action CG, even though it's still a bit wonky in that film, but still pretty fun, which is why I rated this one a 6 out of 10. I think for this one, I'm going to give this one probably right in the middle between and C. I don't think it's a D ranked episode. I think it's C. I had fun with it. I'm just going off of my hearty heart. And then next we have The Headless Horseman, released on October 9th, 1976. This is another cool one. Kind of more of a dynamic Scooby-Doo episode. My first 7, besides the Fiesta Host, is an Aztec Ghost. It'll probably be in B. And this one, just a nice, creepy villain, like Sleepy Hollow, going for kind of like a legendary kind of character, like one that's already been established in lore and stuff like that. So similar to what Camelot's episode will be, but just one of that, using the lore with like Ichabod Crane, the Headless Horseman, the kind of stylings of that. It's Halloween. Just good old fashioned, just Scooby-Doo moments of just Halloween creepy moments using lore previously established. Just keeps it nice and fun. And also another appearance of Scooby-Doo as well, which is really cool. And I think one of my favorite appearances of Scooby-Doo, which is why I rated it a 7 out of 10. So I think I'm going to put this one above Aztec Ghosts as a higher 7 because I enjoyed it a lot more than when I expected to. Scared a lot in Camelot. So this one was rated a 6.5 out of 10. This one was another fun one. It was released on October 16th, 1976. This had one of my favorite joke in the entire series, the joke moat plan. Just all the craziness, getting hypnotized, just all the craziness of going over the moat plan and then blah, 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 blah. Just had really good banter, really good back and forth. Just such a fun joke and really brought up my score for me for this episode. We haven't had a double team villain in a while. So the Black Knight and Merlin was pretty fun, especially since it's not really... It's basically like an iteration of a similar villain. We've had a witch doctor before that is going to appear later, but first kind of real, even though he was a secondary villain and not the true Black Knight from the first episode, still had kind of like a similar copy over vibe besides all the ghosts and stuff we've had. So that keeps it nice and fun. And another one where it goes through lore and history from before times that they've kind of implemented, which is Camelot and Merlin and all that junk. So it makes it nice and interesting, which is why I'm going to put this one, even though it's a 6.5, I think it's going to be a C above Hellraiser, even though that's the first episode of the season. I just liked it a little bit more. That joke plan was fantastic, but it's nothing crazy. The Harem Scarum Sanctarium, which we rated a 6 out of 10. So this one was a nice creepy one where like a legitimately like creepy kind of zombie skeleton guy for the witch doctor, kind of Dr. Boyd, the asylum officer. So this one was an interesting one. It's not really my favorite, but the kind of just the creepiness of like, they see a bunch of coffins outside. I'm like, oh my God, all these people are dead. And it's like, no, they were filled with other stuff. So you're fine. But kind of like one of those ones where there's a lot of intentionally creepy or like, oh my gosh, did that really just happen? And then nope, it didn't. It was a fake out, but still kind of kept you on your toes on that front, which is why it kind of gave you that kind of feeling of a more serious tone compared to previous Scooby-Doo episodes, which kind of makes it fun. And then also shows a good friendship between the gang of like rescue, like you got captured, like let's go for it. That kind of thing. And it just made it more interesting and just had a little bit more of a fun dynamic with the creepiness and also the friendship and all the different suspects we had, that kind of thing, which is why I rated it a 6 out of 10. And I think this is going to be another C. I just really enjoy the Scooby-Doo show, even though they're 5s and 6s and stuff. I think I'm going to put this one below What a Shocking Ghost. No, above What a Shocking Ghost, I think. All right, and then next one, No Face Zombie Chase Case. One of my favorite episodes of this season, which is why we rated it a 7 out of 10. It was released on October 30th, 1976. So right before Halloween. And this one was a really fun one because just nice, creepy, no-face boy. Kind of a good old-fashioned Scooby-Doo thing where like gangster mystery kind of style of like bunch of suspects on this side, and then a creepy villain in the middle, that kind of thing. Just made it really fun, and everybody just coming in out of the woodwork. We had like 3 villains in this episode, and it was just such a cool episode for it. Yeah, so just one of the coolest villains in history. We also had that weird gorilla as well for one of the secondary villains, which I thought was pretty funny. And just one of those, but just an iconic villain, and I think he's going to be our first A. I just really enjoyed that one. Even though it's a 7, I think it'd be closer to like an 8 or so. A for that one. It was just a fun, really good episode. Next, we have the Mamba Wamba and the Voodoo Hoodoo. So this was a bit of a weird one because the fake outs were pretty easy. Like if you're a victim first, then you're obviously the bad guy, that kind of thing. So it felt a bit obvious on this one. It was released on November 6th, 1976. Still had some fun ones. That's why I rated it a 6.5 out of 10. Like it had a bunch of different suspects. First time they've really been like solving the mystery with their friends. They meet a band, and the band is pretty famous and just kind of a bit of an interesting one, but pretty obvious of a villain. This is also the appearance of a zombie that looks very similar to the zombie we've had in the first season of Where Are You? So that kind of makes it interesting, and it also takes place mostly in Louisiana, and we have a weird food item, which was just nothing really, but a nice, interesting one. Just not really my favorite one, That's why I think I'm going to give this one, even though it's a 6.5 out of 10, I think this will be our first D. Didn't really care for it as much as I would have previously, but that's just how it is. Actually, I'm going to put What a Shocking Ghost down in D. I'm thinking more about it, and I think it's more of a D episode for me, because it's a 6, and I just high D. There's a personal feeling, of course. And then next we move on to A Frightened Hound Meets Demons on the Ground. This one was released November 13th, 1976, and I really didn't care for this one at all. I rated this one a 4 out of 10. It's just a bit of a nothing episode for me. Like, it didn't really have very cute moments or fun moments or good gang interactions. It's just kind of a bit of a basic boy. And that's why, like, there's no fun trivia on it. Just a bit of a nothing for me. It had some cool moments, like with the museum that they went to see all the different statues of villains that they previously fought, which was pretty cool. But nothing really besides that. That's why I gave it a 4 out of 10 and why it's going to be our first F. Just didn't care for it. That's usually how it goes down to, of like just overall enjoyment. So, but our first F, that's not too bad for overall quality of the video, or the episode, I mean. Next is A Bum Steer for Scooby. We rated this one a 5.5 out of 10, and it was released on November 20th, 1976. So this one was fun. Similar villain to the Witch Doctor previously, like similar item. And kind of a funny moments with like stealing cows is basically the whole gimmick, which was a bit weird. And one of the things is that the villain, like, perfectly being a cow, like, dressing up as him, like, walking around like a cow, that kind of thing, which was kind of funny. And then Shaggy and Scooby doing the same thing. We had a couple villains and a couple boys for it, but just the villainy reason of stealing cattle just, it felt a bit kind of basic for me. And this also, trivia, so this is the first time that Daphne's surname has been revealed, and that's pretty cool. And it's also the first time Velma loses her glasses, and they appear in Texas, which is pretty cool. Like the first time I've gone to Texas, my state, which is nice. But I give that one a 5.5 out of 10 because it just had a lot of moments for me. I think I'm gonna put it below Mambo Wumbo and 10,000 Volt Ghost. That brings us next to There's a Demon Shark in the Foggy Dark, which we rated a 5 out of 10. I really liked the villain in this one, but it just felt a bit lackluster. I feel like they could have used him a little bit better and just had a little bit more oomph to it. That's why I rated a 5.5 out of 10. Just could have had a little bit more flavor, and I like the flavor, so that's why I rated it a 5 out of 10. Just a bit of a one, with the only one villain, pretty much two suspects, nothing really crazy and nothing really strong about this episode, and that's why it's gonna go into D tier. I don't think it's F because I did enjoy it. I'm going to put it below Mamba Wamba. The only one I really hated so far in season 1 is this one. So I think everybody else is pretty good in this kind of ratio. And then next we move forward to Scooby-Doo Where's the Crew, which we rated a 6 out of 10. This one was pretty fun. It had like glowing villains. It was a pretty nice setup with 3 different villains of varying, lengths kind of thing, like the Ghost of Captain Pescado, Octopus Monster, and the Kelp Monster. Just had fun with that. Of course, a couple of them were just completely random, but still nice and interesting. And had a little bit, our first real triple villain. We've had a few, but our first real one, which was kind of interesting. Of course, they were not like talky people, but a lot of fun of like just going right into the action because the Mystery Machine Shot doesn't appear. They just kind of show up there. An interesting one. This is why I rated it a 6 out of 10. It's a bit of kind of a nothing, but I did like the triple villain. I think I'm going to put it above Gator Ghost. Because the Gator Ghost was fun, but I think Where's the Crew? I just like the different dynamics with all triple villains of, Chase, catch this guy, Chase, catch this guy. So they all caught him at varying points, which was pretty fun. Next, we have The Ghost That Sacked the Quarterback. One of my favorite episodes of this season, or another 7 out of 10. This one was really fun because just a legitimately creepy little dude. I love football. It was just fun seeing their interactions. It kind of reminded me of the Psych episode where they become football players, which is why I really enjoyed it and why it just resonated with me so much, It just had that kind of dynamic that I really enjoyed, especially with Shaggy and Scooby, and that's why I rated it so high. It was released on December 4th, 1976, just to go over that. And we had a couple different kind of great football names, Crunch Connors, Puck Bender, that kind of thing, and just really fun, suspect-wise and everything-wise. And it's just a nice, creepy villain, nice, cool dynamic. 7 out of 10. For me, this is definitely one I'd rewatch again. I'm going to give this one a B. Above... No, actually, what do we rate No Face Ghost? Rated 7 out of 10. Yeah, I think this is going to be above it because I just loved it with like the Psych episode style and just super funny and nice kind of interactions with everybody. All right, next we have the Ghost of the Bad Humor Man. So we have a double ghost in this one. This is one where kind of Shaggy kind of joins the cult style. It was released on December 11th, 1976. This one is a bit of an interesting one because this is the ice cream factory where they meet the Technicolor Phantoms, which is chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla, and three bad guys basically for this episode as well, similar to the pirate ship one right here, which keeps it nice and interesting by having a bunch of different boys for it. Of course, it's only just accomplices. Nobody really talked about it. And then they robbed the armored truck and hid it in the factory's garage and painted it to look like the rest of the Action Crunch trucks, which kind of reminds me of Ambulance, the movie, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so this was an interesting one because this is also the first time that they've really used materials from the series and franchises, because they look like the same ghostly villains from Scooby-Doo Where Are You? A Night of Friday's No Delight, because they're modified versions of the green ghosts. And the police officer is identical to the sheriff that they used before. So just overall, a lot of, same stuff, which is actually pretty interesting. I rated this one a 6 out of 10. I enjoyed it pretty much. And I like that. I like whenever they go big with the villains. I feel like there's less interactions between the villains and there's less talking between everybody. But I just liked it. Shaggy accidentally disguising himself as one of the ghosts was fun because they're really full on just chatting with him okay, let's do this and let's do this. They're making a plan with him because he thinks he's one of their ghosts, even though his hands are obviously appearing and everybody else is wearing gloves and stuff. So that kept it pretty fun for me. For me, I think I'm gonna put it above Hellraiser. I enjoyed it. I think Camelot's still the best on C, but this one right down the middle is pretty fun. And then next we go to the Spirits of 76. So this was our most property damage ever for the Scooby-Doo show. It was released on December 18th, 1976. And, they destroyed a lot of stuff like that full-on antique plane. This is where most of their property damage came from for Shaggy and Scooby, man. It was crazy. And this is when they go to Washington, D.C. And then go to the museum. This very Night of Museum vibes, even though this came out much earlier than that. But still had some fun areas like Benedict Arnold. Of course, we got Benjamin Franklin and a bunch of people. Just made it. Oh, no. Benedict Arnold and William Domont and Major Andre. Yeah, there you go. So this has a fun one. It's basically just the villains wanted to steal some money, but it still had some fun vibes to it. And I like the kind of different style that they went for of, basically spending a night at the museum in a dark, scary place. First time they really kind of just hung out in one location. They usually just move around a little bit, but it's kind of all museum all the time. Let's do it. So that was pretty fun. This was also the last episode to air in 1976 and the last episode of the Scooby-Doo Dynamite Hour. So, yeah, that's why 6 out of 10. I think I'm going to put this one below right here. Yeah, I think that's good. And I think I'm actually going to put Hellraiser a little bit further down, unfortunately. I'm going to put you right there. Gator Ghost, I think Gator Ghost for me actually will be high D above Wada Ghost. Just thinking about it now. Just going with what I'm feeling at the moment. Yeah, Hellraiser at bottom C. Gator Ghost in first D. That finishes off season 1, and now we have season 2, which we start off in 1977 with September 10th, series episode 66 to 73. The first episode, Curse of the Viking Lake, we rated 6 out of 10. So this one had some fun moments. It just felt a bit basic for me, but still pretty interesting. This was the first time that they go to one of Velma's relatives, I believe, and he's long missing for the entire episode, for no interaction between Velma and her uncle until the end there. And just kind of an interesting one of a bit basic, they want to steal uranium, so go steal uranium, that kind of thing. But kind of interesting on that front. And then kind of takes place in the Canadian province of Newfoundland and Labrador, and just pretty interesting on that side of things. First time they've really gone to Canada. So 6 out of 10 for me. I think I'm going to put this one actually in D tier, because I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't really care for it as much as I would have liked. So I'm going to put it in the middle. No, right below, because I feel like I wanted more from Velma's uncle. And then Shark Ghost, I'm going to put a little bit above that, I think. Yeah, I think that's a good score. Yeah, for what we're currently at. Nothing really too effy right now. Then next episode, September 17, 1977. Vampire Bats and Scaredy Cats, which we rated 5 out of 10. This one was fun. Good old-fashioned vampire, an iconic Scooby-Doo villain / villain in general in most media. And it's one of the ones where they go visit her relative for the holidays, and one of those ones where, oh no, a real vampire shows up and kind of kind of more of like a murder mystery style where like they have an uncle, they have a grandma, they have a Harris, and somebody took something from them and they want to get it back to make sure they get the money, And it's just kind of one of those interesting ones of, who done it kind of thing. And then of course we have the bad guy who doesn't want his niece running the hotel. Skull Island is the traditional name of King Kong's home. This is where they win. And it's the second of three known times that the King has visited a place called Skull Island. First time was in Where Are You? Go Away Ghost Ship. And then it'll appear later in The Creepy Case of Old Iron Face, which is pretty fun. And just one of those interesting ones where, had a bit of a fun Dracula moment with like just the vampire vibe of it all, but nothing really to write home about, which is why I rated it a 5 out of 10. I think I'm going to put it below, I don't think it's F. I'm going to put it below Bum's tier for Scooby. And then here we go. One of my least favorite episodes of the entire Scooby-Doo show. Hang in there, Scooby-Doo. I really didn't care for this one. The pterodactyl ghost kind of appears kind of like as a homage in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie. But for me, just his first appearance, just very boring. Hang gliding contest was a fun dynamic, but just a bit of a basic one where there's only like one suspect, and the end goal is to smuggle out pirated CDs. It's just kind of a bit of a, what? Come on, man. And that's why I just didn't care for it really at all for this one. Just the dynamics weren't really getting it for me, and just one of those ones where just a bit basic, which is why I'm putting it F2. I think this one's actually better just because the museum scene is pretty fun. The next one is a bit of a weird one. Chiller Diller Movie Thriller. This is one where we have Scooby-Doo, who, a bit of a weird, interesting one, especially since, that's how dogs are, but kissing and making out with, or not kissing. And this is a bit of a weird one, that's how dogs usually are, but full on like giving smooches to Scooby-Dum, who has another appearance on Scooby-Doo, just a bit of a weird dynamic for things. And just one of those ones where, bit of a weird kind of, she's a famous actor, that they just, in their world, just dogs talks and are actresses. So there's kind of a bit of a suspension of disbelief you have to have for this episode, which is kind of funny. But one of those ones where just kind of went for it kind of thing, and so you just have to be in it to try for it. So there's technically two villains, which was the evil dog of the villain and the villain himself. Basically just wanted to, get rich, making movies. And this is also the last appearance of Scooby-Dum, unfortunately, and the first and only appearance of Scooby-Doo. She does have a cameo appearance that's possible in Scooby-Doo Show, which what's no Scooby-Doo, so we'll try to look for it. A bit weird, with all the different dynamics between Scooby-Dee and Scooby-Dum and Scooby-Doo, but very Scooby-heavy centric episode. Rated a 5.5. I enjoyed a lot of it, but just a lot of it was a bit kind of weird. I think I'm going to put it above Viking Ghost right here, right in the middle, because I did have some fun with it, but but a little bit D still, but nothing crazy, like, didn't hate it. Alright, one of my favorite episodes of the Scooby-Doo show, The Spooky Case of the Grand Prix Race. We rated this one an 8 out of 10. It was released on October 8th, 1977. This one was such a fun episode. I love the dynamics, I love the villainy of the guy. Kind of reminded me of similar kind of style as the villain from Wreck-It Ralph, which was pretty cool just to see it kind of similar. But just this one was just such a fun dynamic. The kind of wacky races kind of style of the episode itself was really cool. This one was just so much fun. One of my favorite Scooby-Doo episodes. It's going to be our first S, I think. This one was just such a cool dynamic. I'll definitely rewatch this one later. It was really cool. Even though we only had like 2 villain suspects, but just nice and interesting, and one of my favorites of the season. Next, we have the Ozark Witch Switch. This one was so good. My favorite episode of the entire series for Scooby-Doo, and just such a awesome trivia one of like Hatfield's cabin, Ghost of Witch McCoy, just similar to just using the kind of another lore kind of centric thing of the Hatfields, and just such a fun episode of so many suspects, so much happening, and just one of those ones where you had a lot of fun dynamics with the gang and just really cool scenes and a fun villain as well, and just one of those ones that just really hit me, like really, I liked it a lot. And just one of those, 8.5 out of 10, just one of my favorites. I'm going to put it high S above this one. Just really fun. Next, we have A Creepy Cruise, released on October 22nd, 1977. I rated this one a 5 out of 10. This one was a bit of a weird one, like using the kind of future dynamic of like this monster's from 5,000 years in the future or blah 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 blah. Kind of a bit of a weird one. I loved how like he definitely looks like a pretty interesting Scooby-Doo villain, which was pretty fun. Just a bit of a basic one on that front though, of like the overall interactions with the gang and how things ended up happening in the show, like the vacation cruise, and then just hey, there's a monster 6,000 years from the future, so got to deal with that kind of thing. It was a bit basic, but still had some fun moments. And then one of those ones where we had two suspects basically that the only people that they actually talked to ended up being the both bad guys. So it was just kind of a bit, and that one and pretty simple, like hey, they're the evil ones, you got to watch out for them kind of thing. So that's why I'm going to give it one. I think low D. Anything pretty much B and above, I would want to rewatch. And then this is kind of like maybe if I'm bored, this is kind of like nah, not really. And this is definitely not. So I think I don't want to put there's definitely not as much F as like the new Scooby-Doo movies. And then Where Are You? I only had one F. So I think this is just similar to Where Are You, where there's not going to be too many Fs and just not really ones that I very much hated. Might be one or two here and there, but nothing really insane. So that ends it off for this one after the Creepy Heap from the Deep, October 29th, 1977. We rated this one a 5.5 out of 10. So this one has another fun villain, very similar style to the Pirate Cruise one that we just did, and then the Shark one, and then this one right here in the middle right here. So just a bit kind of a basic one, 5.5 out of 10. I like the monster design of the thing. Kind of reminds me of kind of like a Medusa kind of style of a guy, but another one where it's pretty obvious who the bad guys are. We only have like two people, and they end up being both the bad guys pretty much. And just one of those ones where it's kind of cool, but basically it's just villainy reason is help criminals escape for money, which we have that reason down the line as well. So it's just a bit kind of a for me. That's why I rated it a 5.5 out of 10. I think for me personally, this one was probably going to be another low D. I think I like it more than this one. This one was just a bit weird, But I think this one is a little bit better than that. I like this one for its comedy. This one was a bit weird, but I liked it. Oh, no. Yeah, I think this one's the lowest D, actually. I felt like I needed more from it. I think that I'm going to push down Mumbo Wumbo a little bit more as well right there. Now we're going into Season 3, which was all released in 1978, so September 9th to December 23rd. The first episode of the third season, Watch Out the Willowa, released on September 9th, 1978, a series episode 74. This one was probably our least favorite of the Season 3. Just a lot more hit or miss ones for Season 3. This one we rated a 4 out of 10. Just really didn't care for this one at all. Just, the villain was interesting, but nothing to write home about, and just kind of had a lot of misses for me. Another time they've gone to Velma's uncle, so another uncle that they go to, and just kind of a bit of a basic episode for me, and kind of a bit of a shoehorned in for a lot of the villainy and a lot of the moments in the episode, just kind of just a bit boring, really. That's why I'm going to put this one probably above Pterodactyl, but, below Pterodactyl. Yeah, I'm going to put it at F3. I think it's worse than Pterodactyl, even though Pterodactyl I rated a 3 out of 10. Just a bit kind of this one put me to sleep, really. Next, we have A Creepy Tangle in the Bermuda Triangle, which we rated a 5.5 out of 10 and was released on September 16th, 1978. So this is our appearance of the villains that later appear in Monsters Unleashed. So there's 3 of them in the episode, but only 2 appear in Monsters Unleashed. Still pretty cool to see those kinds of villainies there. We rated this one a 5.5 out of 10. It was a lot of the similar, basically, a lot of the 5s and 5 out of 10s are a lot of similar styles of, unless they shake it up or have some fun moments or cute dynamics with the gang, then we're not going to really care for it very much. And that's why this one's a 5.5 out of 10, just because, just kind of want to go through that one. I think this one, actually, for me, is going to go D, right above Viking Ghost, but not really my favorite episode. And that's why it's going there. Next, we have A Scary Night with a Snow Beast Fright. This one, fair warning, is going to be mostly rated on nostalgia. Just 8 out of 10. Just an awesome, cool, dynamic villain. One of the first Scooby-Doo episodes I've ever watched because I had the Scooby-Doo Chill Out on DVD, where it has like 5 episodes of Winter Eat Scooby-Doo episodes. This one was one of my favorites. Just such an iconic villain. The roar was fantastic. The kind of robot style of it, the funny kind of snow moments with it, just really floods me with a happy feeling whenever I watch this episode. That's why for me, I'm gonna put it probably above Which Switch is Which, even though I rated this one at 8.5 out of 10. Just such a fun one. Just I could watch it every time. It just gives me that happy feeling. Next, we have the To Switch a Witch. So similar titling to Ozark Witch Switch, but this one's To Switch a Witch. This one has a bit of a more of a cute vibe compared to the previous one. I like the villain of this one, and they go to Salem and the witch trials. This one's just a bit dark, and that's why I had it more fun of kind of going around. And another similar one with like previous villains and stuff, and like the how the villainy ended up happening, and just what was interesting about it was that just had some cool moments and just had some interesting stylings of what they went with, with the Salem witch trials and all that stuff, which is why it's a 7 out of 10 for me. It's gonna be a high C, I think, above Merlin. Our first episode above Merlin, I think. Next, we have the Tar Monster, which we rated a 6 out of 10, released on October 7th, 1978. Another monster later that appears in Monsters Unleashed, which is pretty awesome. This one's similar vibe to the previous Scooby-Doo stuff. Just the villainy moment was a bit lackluster. Didn't talk at all pretty much, and just I like it when they talk and interact with the gang. I like the banter of it. It just makes it more fun for me. And just a bit of a basic Scooby-Doo episode for this one, and just didn't really do it for me as much as it could have. I think I'm gonna put this one right above this one, but I think it's my third least favorite, just because I don't know. I wanted more of like a fun vibe. I like where they're like went underneath the ground and like they go to Turkey, that kind of thing. Just makes it interesting, but didn't really do it for me as much as it could have. Next, we have a Highland Fling with a Monstrous Thing, which we rated a 5 out of 10. This one was probably one of the coolest ideas, but it's just basically just a ghostly Scottish guy, Aggie Macduff, where they travel to Scotland to help Velma's friend. I feel like the Loch Ness Monster, I reveal though, should have been the main bad guy. It just was real fun on it. They later do a lot of Loch Ness Monster similar style to later down the line, but I wanted more oomph to it. They had a really cool idea with the Loch Ness Monster, where they kind of just basically just a whistle took him down. That's why it just kind of didn't really do it for me. And that's why it's a 5 out of 10. But it had good dynamics there. That's why I'm gonna put it above Viking Ghost, but nothing really to write home about for that one either. Next, we have the Creepy Face Case of Old Iron Face. This one rated a 5.5 out of 10. It was released on October 21st, 1978. Appearance of a villain that will later appear in Cyber Chase. So our first Cyber Chase villain, which is pretty awesome. This one was a nice iconic villain, even though it was a bit average on that front, but there's a nice creepy vibe for him. And then an island prison, so it had a bit of a creep factor that I really enjoyed. The villainy was pretty easy on who it could be, but another smuggling operation for similar styles to what we had before. But it's just a nice little cutesy fun one, I guess you could say, of like the different kind of shenanigans they get up to, all the property damage that the old Iron Face has. So that's why I'm gonna put this one in a bit of a higher D, but nothing crazy. I think I'm gonna put it above Bumsteer. I enjoyed it a little bit. Actually, Scooby-Doo, I'm gonna push down a little bit as well. Just I like Scooby-Doo, but the villainy was a bit kind of lackluster. Of like, hey, I'm gonna kidnap you and make my dog act, which is kind of weird. All right, next we have Jeepers. It's the Jaguaro. So this is another villain, back-to-back villains that appear in Cyber Chase. It was released on October 28th, 1978. We rated this one a 4 out of 10. This one just really didn't do it for me. The next episode, Make a Beeline Away from That Feeling, has a lot of similar aspects, but they played on them much better. It's actually a pretty creepy villain, like the saber-tooth tiger, bear kind of monkey style, but it just kind of a bit of a basic one. Just didn't really care for it. This is also the 33rd and final episode overall in Where Are You, before they kind of transfer and make Scooby-Doo Show a legit thing. So just kind of a bit of a lackluster ending for what they ended up retitling as the third season of Where Are You, before they switched it back to Scooby-Doo Show. So I just didn't really care for it, really, and that's why I rated it 4 out of 10. I think I'm going to make this one actually F. I'm going to put it above Willowa, but because I like the look of the villain, kind of really, and some about a moment or two that I enjoyed. Now we go into Make a Beeline from the Feline. So this is the first of 3 segments of Scooby-Doo All-Stars. It was released on November 4th, 1978. And it was a nice little return to form as, the first technical episode of Scooby-Doo All-Stars. This is when they visit Daphne's Aunt Olivia. So another one where we have a thieving cat creature and kind of an interesting dynamic of her being hypnotized and showing off in Scooby-Doo that hypnotization is real. So we have kind of like a more magical aspect to the show of like, you're obviously not the bad guy, but hypnotism is real. Sorry about that kind of thing, which I thought was pretty interesting. And the kind of different dynamics that they go for in this episode and how they end up doing everything of like stealing the treasure and the gold and all that junk, which kept it interesting, which is why I rated this one a 6.5 out of 10. I think for me, this is going to be a C. I think I'm going to put it, I enjoyed it a little bit more. I'll put it right there in the middle. Yeah. C5, I think, was good. No, that's C6. I can't count. Next, we move the creepy creature of Vulture's Claw. This one was a cool villain. Released on November 11th, 1978. I like the different kind of style for it. This is also the first time we had a villain that's a friend, which was the professor. So that was an interesting dynamic to the show. And then I started guessing like if next friends are going to be villains. Of course, nobody else was in the Scooby-Doo show, but first time we've really had that was pretty interesting. We also had a couple suspects that were pretty obviously could have been the villain as well, but it ended up being fine. Nope, it was our bestie. And so first time that's really happened, and which made it pretty cool. And a very similar dynamic to the Fly, like the trivia states, and just a pretty interesting one. Not my favorite, but I like the different dynamic, like the creepy style of it. It just, the botanical garden kind of vibe of it all was pretty fun as well. That's why it's a 6 out of 10 for me. And I think I'm going to put it above Bum Steer for Scooby, but I'm going to keep it in D. Next, we have the Diabolical Disc Demon. We rated this one a 7.5 out of 10. One of my favorite episodes of the season 3 of the Scooby-Doo Show. It just has such a fun vibe to it. I love like the Kiss style villain of it. We had like 4 suspects. They go to see their buddy and get up to all kinds of shenanigans. They stay in pretty much one location in the building, and just such a cool kind of like who done it, like who's the villain kind of thing, because everybody keeps disappearing and hiding around and all that kind of stuff, which was interesting. It just had a cute moment, especially with the vending machine the milkshake vending machine that they dealt with. So I really like that one as well. So just nice, fun little area of Scooby-Doo that really just brought out a lot of joy in myself, which is why we rated a 7.5 out of 10. I think we'll put this one in B, right above Aztec Ghost. Next, we have Scooby's Chinese Fortune Cookie Caper. This one was a bit of a fun one as well. We rated this one a 6 out of 10. I keep saying it's a fun one, but this one was a bit of a weird one with the Chinese vibe of it all was pretty cool. I like the different kind of lore that they use for this one, and like the treasure, and like, you must dump in a lake, and the lake, you must dump in a lake because there's like a whirlpool down there that takes into a cave that he wants to steal out of. And one of the coolest ones of the villain basically full-on like carving a statue of himself. I'm surprised he wasn't gotten caught. He did it with like a 100-year-old artifact, and just you want your treasure, so you'll go crazy with it, man. So that was pretty fun. And that's why 6 out of 10 for me. I'm gonna put it above. These guys are also iconic. I think Bum Steer is my middle point, so I'm gonna put it above Bum Steer because I liked it a little bit more than that one. Next, we have another one of my favorite episodes of this 3rd season, Menace in Venice. This one was so fun. The villain's nice and creepy. It had a really cool dynamic. This one is another one where just super fun and just very enjoyable. They go to Italy for the first time in the Scooby-Doo show, and just a cool, villain really. And one of those ones where it had an awesome dynamic between the gang and the villain, and just the gang themselves. One of those ones where the gang talks to the villain a lot and just has a nice fun moment with everybody, and just one of those ones where, yeah, that's why I rated this one an 8 out of 10. This one's gonna be a B. I like these kinds of villains, they're so fun, and I think it's gonna be below Quarterback, but still an awesome one. Next is Don't Go Near the Fortress of Fear. So this is the one where we go to Puerto Rico for the next ghost, and this is one where similar to what we've had before in the previous episode of, I can't remember which one, but shooting cannons of treasure out. So shooting cannonballs out to smuggle something is something we've had before in a previous episode of the Scooby-Doo show. But still, an interesting dynamic between the gang and everybody. Full-on almost got killed by him wedging the sword in and trying to get the brick out. So that was a little harrowing. Of course, we knew they wouldn't die, but still a bit of fun on that front, and why I rated this one a 5.5 out of 10. I think for me, it's going to be D. Again, I think it's going to be above Bum Steer for Scooby, but just barely. I just like the kind of harrowing moments of it kept it more interesting than how it was previously, especially since there was really only a couple boys. And then I loved the reveal of another cop around, like, we've done that like 6 times in the entire series so far, and I just kind of like was super excited about it. Even during my reaction, I'm like, yes, he's a cop. We're getting close to the end here. 2 more episodes to go. We have The Warlock of Wimbledon, released on December 16th, 1978. Series episode 88. We rated this one a 4.5 out of 10. This one was a bit of a weird one. Just kind of a random tennis match of like, hey, there's a demon here. Or a warlock, I guess. And just a bit of a basic one for me. There's only like a couple suspects that it could be. And one of those ones where they could have had more fun with it, but pretty much all the people we met were the bad guys, and just didn't really do it for me, and just one of those was a bit boring, to be honest. This one's a 4.5 out of 10. I don't think it's F, but it's definitely a lower D behind Viking Ghost. And now the season finale, The Beast is Awake in Bottomless Lake, released on December 23rd, 1978. Episode number 16, and the finale of season 3, series episode 89. We rated this one a 3 out of 10. This one I really, really didn't like. It's a cool, creepy villain, which was really fun. Kind of reminds me of like those little guys from Spore. But this guy was just, boring, really. They go to Canada, so the second time they've gone there after Velma's uncle and the first time, Viking Ghost. So that one was pretty interesting, and I liked it. But just a bit of a basic one, another treasure episode like stealing, smuggling gold and all that junk. And, just one of those ones where they just hide it underneath the ocean and then, oh no, you got caught at the end there. And there's very fast paced on this one that just really didn't do it for me. I think it's going to be, I like the villain a lot, so I'm going to put it above Willowball. But it's one of those ones where it's just kind of like, and just why I didn't like it really. And so, yeah, that's going to do it for me for the Scooby-Doo Show tier list. We had a lot of fun ones in this episode. A couple Fs, actually. Not as... we actually had more Fs than Where Are You, but also another season compared to Where Are You. Like, Where Are You was 17 plus 8. This one was 16, 16, and 8. So we had 40 episodes compared to, 25. So overall, the ratios are pretty good because we have more S's and more A's than the other ones. For me, the Scooby-Doo Show overall was definitely my favorite iteration of Scooby-Doo so far, which is why it's mostly a 6 out of 10. And then just overall enjoyment, though, I don't know why I rate them like this, but overall enjoyment is probably about an 8 or a 9 out of 10. And then Where Are You is about, I think like a 6.5 to 7.5 out of 10 for me. And the new Scooby-Doo movies is about a 3 or 4 out of 10, I think. Just because there was a lot more misses in the Scooby-Doo movies. So yeah, I think for me, really, you just got to go for it as like 5s are really 7s. It's kind of what I usually do. I don't know why I just don't make it a 7 though. It's just a bit weird. Really, Scooby-Doo Show for me is really, those 6s are really 8s. That's just how it really boils down to. I just rate it super weird. That's gonna do it for me for this tier list. It ran a little bit long because we had another season to run, but just really fun dynamics. I love the show, and would definitely watch these couple episodes again. Some of my 9 favorite episodes, and whenever we do our massive tier list, they're definitely going to go appear again in the show. Just really fun, and just really fun dynamics. 5 Fs, got a bunch of Ds, a couple, about 7 Cs, 3 Bs, 3 As, and 3 S's. Snow Fright's still one of my favorites because that's the first episode pretty much we watched the Scooby-Doo as a kid, besides like the What's New Scooby-Doo series, but every time I was sick, I would put in Chill Out Scooby-Doo and watch that one, so just have such a soft spot for it, but a lot of good hits on this one as well that we really enjoyed. So that's going to end it for me. Next week, starting on Valentine's Day, we are going to react to our first episode of Scooby-Doo Ghosts. So like we did yesterday, we did a Scrappy-Doo era special where we went through all of the Scrappy-Doo era for the seasons that we watched them basically by ourselves a little bit without, because they're only like 6 minutes long a lot of times, so we're just going to watch them by myself because I knew it would be kind of like hit or miss, and a lot of them misses. So I just try to do like a big special, like watch them all by myself, write a couple notes, and just do that all by itself, just to not waste a year and a half on it. So we're gonna officially start up again with 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and end that one off with the movie. So we just kind of go fast and strong into it, and work hard on what we need to work hard on, which is just having some fun with Scooby-Doo, and we'll still at least get one season of Scrappy in full, and just one of those ones where we're just going to enjoy ourselves and keep at it with our reactions because I'm having a lot of fun. And we're slowly starting into our movies as well. Once we did Scooby-Doo Goes Hollywood, once we finish 13 Ghosts, we'll watch that movie. And then after that, every 2 weeks will be one of the old-fashioned Scooby-Doo movies as well. So we're having a lot of fun, and I hope you guys are too. Thank you for watching, and if you want to, you can also subscribe on my Patreon where I'll start releasing more early access videos because we're trying to film back up ahead again after being busy during the holidays. So you can subscribe to that. The link's down below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week for the start of 13 Ghosts. Have a great day.